Okay, dear Mr. Lee Baumgarten will talk now, and because we have to be really finished at 4 o'clock, so because of organization, you know. So please welcome to talk us. Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. I think that we just went through a really good example about what an artist goes through at any time of creativity. You have technical information, you have something that's really solid that you're working with, whether it's a construct or an idea, an intent, and then you have this creative side, which like Jürgen, he and I have a lot of experience in this similar background in teaching. You're constantly at play between those two balance points of what you know, and then your tools at hand, and then what you're trying to accomplish or what you want to explore. So, think about that. This has been a very nice demonstration because you're seeing artworks that where artists are trying to push the concepts of be playful, be creative, find your inner person, your inner child. And at the same time, we're doing it professionally, we have to use tools and we have to use communication. So it's really actually a pretty nice example of what we go through on a daily basis to communicate. And I think it's exemplary in a way. Also, you're in real world. Two of the speakers today couldn't make it. I almost didn't make it. This is the stuff that happens in real life and everyday life. So what I want to do is I want to introduce a couple of ideas that I kick around the world. And I know it sounds a little odd, but it's exactly what it is. Just going to different places, having conversations with a real desire to create collaborations between myself and other professional artists. They can be musicians, which I just worked with Thomas. Just now I'm planning one to go and meet Jürgen. Lotto and I've worked on several. So it's a matter of going back to our playfulness of thinking creatively like kids in a sandbox. And at the same time, kind of like what Albert was speaking of earlier, we're really dealing with professionalisms in a particular type of organization. And we have to walk this tightrope between those two. Or, like he said, we look a little silly. And for me, it's always fun. I can't help it. It's just part of my personality. I think it has something to do with humor. So I want to ask you some questions, if I can, as I get started. This is just off of an old painting, but nonetheless, I wanted to create sort of a title head so I can get started. Who in here is an artist? Just raise your hand. Who in here is a designer? Now, it's funny that you guys would separate those two. See, I told you, it's strange sense of humor. Who in here are educators? And you separate yourself too. Who in here are institutional for museums, galleries, organizational schools? See how we separate ourselves out? See how we become specialists? If you think of yourself as a musician, and yet you're a master painter. If you think of yourself as an instructor, a professor, and yet you're teaching music, do you not see the dichotomies of what's possible? If we don't collaborate with each other, we'll never know this is happening because we don't have that kind of psychological mirror built into us. As artists, all of us have had these conversations, and it's the one thing, the connective tissue between all of us in this room, that we're trying to break that schism. We need to get rid of the schism. Our world's in chaos because of these very schisms. We're better than you are. We're smarter than you are. We do technical stuff. We can't get it to work, but we do it. So when I ask you again, remember back when you were a child, were you creative? Did you think creatively? Did you draw with crayons? Did you create things out of paper and watch them grow into something solid? Who did as a child? Raise your hand. Now, those that didn't scare me a little bit. I want you to get back to that point. It's exactly what Jürgen said. And if you can reconnect with that inner person, that inner creativity, it it gives you an ability to explore. Exactly what he was showing you with the students here. It's a mechanism to allow yourself freedom to try new things, right? So creativity is a major part of our inner psyche, it's part of our identity. If you're not utilizing it, then you're just separating yourself more and more from who you really are. But you're trying to identify yourself as somebody who knows something, that you have great acuity and ability, and yet you're saying the opposite by becoming a specialist in a very small frame. Acuity is major when we're in an educational system. It's what we're trying to build in our students. You should be trying to build that yourself. You're on the net, you're going through Google, you're going through all this stuff, and you're trying to find out about what's happening on Saturn, what's going on in the cosmos. What was my mother trying to tell me when I was 5 years old? We're trying to find that, reconnect to it. And I really think it's because we rarely communicate one-on-one anymore. And I think that we need to bring that property back. Everybody's on their cell phone. I notice it at lunch. And they're not even talking to each other. I've seen kids going on dates and they're not talking to each other. They're not cooperating. They're not collaborating. That's what art is actually the best at. This is a concept that's going on in America, and I'm thinking and I'm learning that it's going on in Germany and several places in the Middle Europe, and I'm suspecting now in Asia. And the concept is to democratize design. Now, does anybody in here know what that means? I know it sounds fun, but has anybody heard it before? Okay, if you go online and you can just Wikipedia this, but it's called, there's several different things going on in universities, starting at Stanford and MIT and some others, but it's really, it's all under the same framework of what's called design thinking. Have you heard design thinking? Yeah, okay. And then with design thinking, you've got human-centered design. Has anybody ever heard of that? HCD, human-centered design? Okay, I'm going to give you guys homework. All right, I want you to go on and I want you to research what those are. And there's a lot of .coms, man. You're out there, you can find out all about it. The idea is that through the educational system, we need to tweak our direction a little bit. Instead of having everybody think in terms of, I'm going to be a specialist, I'm going to own a company, I'm going to be the president of a school. Instead of that, you're thinking more in terms of the bigger picture, your whole life and how it works in a system. Okay? Look into it and see how it is you might be able to apply that and think creatively. Don't just think technically or in any other way, because you really won't develop it into your acuity unless you do think about it creatively. So play like you were a child again. Okay? Let that subject become part of you again. Explore it again. He hit a major word a while ago, which was curiosity. The problem with our society and the reason we're in chaos, I think, for a lot of reasons, is because we are drawing these division lines in the sand, these red lines. They're religious, they're social, they're governmental, and we're blocking ourselves out of all of this, we're blocking ourselves away from it, and we got to stop it. And our conversations about this, the type of topic that he's brought up today, is that. So it's really about, can we compromise a little bit? Can you see the word compromise in your mind right now? It's an important word when you're collaborating or when you're cooperating. Next one. So the idea, my crazy, silly idea, is how do we take these kinds of concepts and thinking about it in terms of a complete human ecology, not something that happens in this town or that town or your home or my home, but something that we can all share and we can grow with together. So the idea is that it's an evolutionary process to rethink. Artists are notorious at this stuff. He's a musician, designer, artist, instructor, regardless of what you're doing. I'm not that great at dancing, but I can, and I don't mind doing it. I enjoy it. Use whatever it is that you have as resources, whatever your God-given talents are, and you'll find that that's your biggest interest. And you'll actually be able to access that creative process easier. Who in here is a mother? Who in here is a father? So, is that really a distinction? Not really. Okay. Thanks. Come see me anytime.
Thank you so much, Lee. Thank you.